Oh, well, I'm live, and Andrew Plank is going to be here in a second. I don't know what's going on here. But anyway, I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, host of Vancouver Island Time, and here we are with our new show, He Said, She Said, They Said. And this is a new show that we're starting today, the purpose of which is to oh, I have I'll be back.
I've lost you now, Jane. Hello. Technical difficulty.
Start this over. Cut.
I think my internet went down the moment you went live. I'm not sure, or if something happened on your end.
Okay. Welcome everybody. Let's just take us out and start again. Hold on.
Oh, really? You can do that.
Yeah, hold on. Ta-da! Welcome everybody.
Wow, flawless. Cool.
Okay, we're on our first show of He Said, She Said, They Said. And Andrew, why don't you talk about what the show's all about?
What is the show all about? It's just us chatting and what just happened? The show is about a bunch of misfits. Talking real estate. And we're just going to be talking and having fun and seeing where things go. But essentially, you know, we both have similar. Jane and I have known each other for years. Jane's been licensed pretty much the same moment I have. We took our courses together and so forth. So she's like my real estate sister, and we followed different paths, but have always stayed in touch and really enjoyed each other. So. We're doing this little show now just to have a chance to catch up, talk real estate, see if we can help anybody else out there in the big wide world with any questions or understandings of what this crazy industry is about. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell for me. I'm sure Jane has her own ideas.
Well, I think that we were study buddies in real estate, right?
Yeah.
And our numbers, Andrew's 3782. I'm 3783. We literally got, let me see if this is going to work. Yeah. We literally got licensed on the same day. And we met each other while we were in real estate school, online dating. So this was 2006.
Yes. Fateful day back in 2006. And it was June, July. Our licensing came up in June, I guess, is when we got our licenses.
Yeah. So like, it's funny when you look at two houses, you know, that are built at the same time, and people, to use the analogy or simile, I'm not sure.
Figure out where you're going. Like, one's been lived in roughly and one's been cared for well. Like, no.
We have the same foundation, right?
Yeah.
But we've built different businesses, so it's been very different right from the start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, so what we were going to talk about, first of all, I wanted to introduce Andrew. So Andrew has had a very different life in real estate than what I've had. So he's been the director of the board. We both started out at Pemberton Homes, and you got into the business from the photography. You sort of sold vintage.
Yeah, I had a vintage camera shop. I was buying and selling cameras, retail and online, and really just building a community of folks that loved vintage photographic gear and photography in general. And so it was kind of like, I call it a mecca for photo enthusiasts, and it's still in business, but that was my foray into business itself. And so when I went into real estate, I thought, I'm going to approach this not as a salesperson, which was then my impression of what real estate salespeople were. Was unfortunately I had this impression that they were all like used car salesmen. And getting into the business, that's definitely changed. Having experienced lots of great people out there, but I definitely have a different approach than many of my colleagues. And so do you. I mean, you came to it from education and from another different background, and real estate's fascinating because we all come to it from our own background and bring our own lens to it and our own personalities and meet our own clientele that just seems to work with us in our way and maybe not so well with others.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's a very caring profession. A lot of teachers, nurses, social type backgrounds where people have an interest in caring for people end up in real estate. So really guiding people through a very stressful process, wouldn't you say?
Yep, absolutely. One of the most stressful processes for a lot of people in the world. High financial stress, high emotional stress, relationship stress, all the stresses, you can just pile them all up, and they're often those moves are often instigated by family changes too, which can be really stressful. So yeah, you have to have definitely that hat on where you really have compassion and caring and empathy.
Yeah, which is why I wanted to do this show with you, because I felt like we have the ethics are very similar, but the approach is very different.
Right. Yeah. And, really in terms of approach, I mean, our approach in terms of care for clients is the same. Our approach in terms of, as you said, ethics are the same. It's just, I think right off the bat, you have been really pursuing a much more successful career in the sense of building the business really hard and fast, and done a really great job. And I have kind of tried to more craft and different degrees of success, but try to craft a balance of personal lifestyle and personal life. And I think actually what amazes me is you've done really well, and I think you've done that as well. I mean, I've seen what you've done raising your children and, living in a beautiful place out in the Chosen, and somehow you managed to run all over town and do all kinds of real estate business as well. But that's just not, I'm much more comfortable serving and helping at a lower volume, but just doing, the service that I do at that level. So, and I'm satisfied with that for the most part. I mean, we can always be busier, but there's a certain level of business that I just have been resistant to obtaining.
Yeah.
The heck is going on with the sun?
I don't know. I was just looking at it like you look like something out of Star Wars. That's better. Go back. The skylight.
What's my
Here, I'll go back so our heads are the same size. Yeah, and I think also you're inherently interested in the psychology and the personally, I always thought that you would be good at a university setting because you're a researcher, and I'm a researcher too. But you're more interested. This is wrong to say. We're both interested in the why and the how, but you like the organized side of real estate, whereas I'm a bit of a maverick.
Right. Sure. Yeah. And and spending time in organized real estate. As a director of the board was really, it was really fulfilling and satisfying and interesting. And I felt like, it was really nice to be able to contribute in a different way. And, what I've come to determine and to understand about myself, having almost gone 50 times around the sun, is I really like to feel like I'm of use in some way. And knowledge to me and understanding is one of the ways to do that. And there's, that's not to say, I know so many great realtors who have a really good fundamental knowledge of what they do, and they just really know people, and they do a really great job. I'm someone who likes to look, pick up the rocks on the beach and see what's under them, and just understand everything that's there. And So I eat that up. That can sometimes take away from actually being quote successful because you're spending more time.
I've found recently your work ethic really gives you a little bit of street cred with other realtors when you're writing an offer.
Yep.
It makes a big difference. When I had a really great experience last night, and unfortunately my clients didn't write on a property, but the realtor was willing. They received an offer and it was open till the time that our viewing was at, and he said, "I'll give you a few minutes just to look at it." And which was, I mean, I drove, well, yesterday I was down at Shawnigan Lake, and I drove down just to see the property. And, I made the effort, and he gave me the consideration, which was really appreciated. But I don't think, if he didn't know who I was or didn't know how we worked.
Yeah. Well, it's not just ethics. I think it's also, it's relationship and the knowledge that you are someone who can get things done. And if someone has that feeling of confidence in you, that's what a lot of people don't understand about real estate, which, come to learn pretty quickly is, real estate's not just about what you know, it is about who you know, and especially your relationship with your colleagues. If we're dealing with, if I'm a realtor writing an offer on a property, and I have a relationship with the agent who is selling the property, then they know who I am, they know how I do business, and they know, for example, that maybe some agents will take on any client and throw frivolous offers out, and they may not stick. In other words, they might accept an offer from an agent, but that agent may not be working with the buyer who are going to stick around through the condition period. And if they talk to an agent and they feel like they can get a sense of what's going on in terms of the quality of the buyers, and by quality I mean how likely are these buyers to actually go forward, you can definitely put yourself in a better position. So that's one of the things that I've always found really interesting about this business is it's a relationship business with your clients, but it's also a relationship business with your colleagues, and you really need to be in a good position with that. The minute you have a bad reputation, or we don't really speak poorly of our colleagues, but you get a sense of who you want to avoid doing business with if you can, or who you definitely prefer to do business with. There's some folks that when they bring me an offer, I'm just so happy, and others where I'm like, well, this is going to be a bit of a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble hearing you a bit. So I don't know if you can get closer.
Back into the light.
Luke, I am your father. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on in the market.
Okay. You hear the sirens?
Yeah. Are you in downtown?
Yeah. Downtown Victoria.
We had a wild market last month, 900 sales, which was, I think, 30% higher than it was the year before. So we were at 600 the year before, so whatever that is up. What do you think about that? How was it for you?
I think that, last month was quite busy. And obviously, we didn't have much business in the COVID, when we were closed down for COVID. We've been opened up since. And we always have a lot of business. Like, if you look at the stats, we were way down for March, April, May, June.
We're down 55%.
Yeah. So right now it's the backlog. And so traditionally we have a really slow July, August. We're going to be really generally pretty slow in the marketplace normally, but that backlog, just that wave that didn't really hit before, it's spilling over into this time now. So of course we're up really high percentage over what would be a more standard month of July. So I think that backlog's going to work itself through, and we're going to see what happens in September, October, when we perhaps have worked through that, and are we back to quote normal, or are we going to see folks have been tightening the belts, and really been interesting to see how despite the fact that some people are making less money, some people are making more money at this time, a lot of people have tightened their belts and really found that they're not doing the same discretionary spending and finding more money in their pockets, which may actually translate into people saving more money for buying a house or being in a better position.
Yeah, I'm finding right now there are a lot of first-time buyers who are coming out.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, after the initial first wave of COVID, hopefully there won't be a second wave, but a lot of people who own rental properties felt vulnerable.
Right.
And there's also been, I think, I don't know statistically if this is true, but it seems to me that recreational properties on the island have been doing well.
Yeah, I've got a few buyers for recreationals right now, and they'd love to find something.
Yeah, like Shawnigan Lake is just crazy.
Right. Yeah, in Cowichan.
Yeah.
Pretty much any recreational.
So let's talk about what's happening. That brings up the very topical topic of multiple offers. What's your strategy with? Tell me your secrets.
The secret. Yeah, let me just dig into my little magic toolbox.
I'll show you mine. You
Yeah.
show it.
Okay, this isn't that kind of show. So if I had a magic toolbox, I would say the real thing with multiple offers is that there is no magic toolbox. Every offer is unique, and every set of buyers and sellers are unique. So if anything, the first most powerful thing you can do is find out all you can about what the needs are of the sellers, because in a multiple offer situation, the buyers are going to not necessarily be negotiating from a position of strength. They can strengthen their position, but they're not. They're definitely bidding against other folks, and they're not able to have the power to say, well, no, I definitely want you to throw in that lawnmower, and I definitely need to have these dates and take it or leave it. If they want to win out against another party who's maybe more willing to give something that the sellers are looking for. So, really, it's not rocket science. The sellers are going to be looking at a number of factors. The price is one of the main ones, but there's others that come into play, as you know, such as the dates that are being offered. What is included, what are the conditions. If someone says, I'd like to buy your house, but only subject to the moving in a certain phase, and my brother's uncle's cousin coming to view it and approve it, the building inspection. You're not gonna get very far with the sellers who really just want to see a sold sign on the property. So the cleaner you can make your offer, the less complicated, the better. And you have two. I find you have two hurdles to get through. One is, we were already saying this, the other cooperating agent. You need to impress them. You need to really show them that you are going to work with them in the sense of having buyers that can make this come together, and also help that other agent communicate to their sellers, because you're not having direct access to the sellers. Give them the tools and some of the thoughts and ideas about maybe some other solutions that were a little outside of the box to how this could work.
Yeah, I find that if like a lot of buyers, when they think of multiple offers, they're just thinking about the price.
Yeah.
But interestingly, when multiple offers started happening about 4 years ago, I had an offer on a property, and the dates were 3 days off what worked for my seller, and it would have cost them $11,000. And so another agent she said, well, I'm not going to write because of, we're not going to be participating in multiple offers.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I suggest you do write, because dates are very important to the seller. And she didn't write. She would have gotten it, interestingly.
Yeah.
So we had to actually kind of finagle the contract so that the completion happened 3 days after possession, because the buyers have to possess on the 8th, and the completion had to happen on the 11th. So we had this little bit of an issue of disconnect, which put my sellers at risk, but that was the only way that we could make it work for everybody.
Well, yeah, and like you said, they could have done it, and it would cost them $11,000 to accept that. that offer with those dates. So it put them at risk, and the risk, they were gambling for $11,000.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And that's the thing is, I look at these things from probability standpoints, I guess. And, not that I'm doing calculus and, taking out a spreadsheet and so forth, but I'm looking at these offers and I'm saying, what's the probability that this offer is going to be accepted versus a competing offer? And like you said, I've been in the position where I'm reviewing offers as well. And you get 4 competing offers and they're all under asking price. Right? Or you end up, I've seen buyers write the first offer and then another offer comes in competing and it's conditional on sale and under asking price. And then the first buyer ups their offer by, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 unnecessarily in some ways because they know they're competing. And so it's a hard one. And I think it is a numbers game in a sense. If you want a house, you're going to have to get blind, and it's an unfortunate and awkward and it's uncomfortable, I think, for people not knowing what they have to pay for a house to get it.
Yeah.
If they do want it, and they will do what they have to want it, and they just have to know that at the end of the day, are they going to be satisfied with the price they pay? But if you're looking for a fair price on a house, and we're in a market like we're in now, where there's competition all the time, or a lot of competition for good homes. If you continue to make just good offers, eventually the law of probability will be that you're going to get in, but you can't continuously be making less than good offers because you're going to always be coming out by the
Right.
offers. So the point is you can spike your offer and make a really aggressive offer and up the chances of the probability of someone accepting it, but is that in your best interest if it's not, if you're not absolutely loving the home? So,
Right.
So I've been talking. What's that?
Do you have a microphone or something? Because I'm finding our sound is not great.
Okay, I can try and set up another microphone. Just hold with me a sec.
I'll talk about what I was going to say.
Let me see what the microphone's actually set for. Yeah, I mean, that's the standard microphone.
Yeah, the sound was better when we did our test on the weekend.
Okay. Hold on.
So what I find, there are 5 elements to an offer. So one is price, one is deposit,
Yep.
one is dates, one is what's included. Sometimes people have things they do or do not want to include. And then the 5th one are your terms and conditions. So obviously a subject to sale is not as appealing.
Yeah.
And Teresa's just saying that you're a little hard to hear.
Yeah, I have my little blue microphone, which I can connect up, but I don't.
That would be awesome.
For it. You want to pause for 5 minutes so I can dig out a wire, or we can continue like this? I will try to talk closer, but then you're going to find that you can see it.
Yeah, I think it's better if you go get the microphone. If you get the microphone hooked up.
All right.
Okay, so
let's hear about your 5 steps.
okay, so what I do is I actually recorded a video that I send to buyers, and I explain this. And when I'm working with another agent, especially a newer agent, they're very focused on the price. So I try and counsel them to bring the offer anyway, because quite honestly, if you don't write the offer, you won't get the property. And I mean, I've had listings where I've had 5 or 6 people who are writing offers on a property, and it's like this. So we have like groupings of people, and then the outlier is the one that ends up winning. And sometimes you can win by just having an odd number. So let's say the price is 500,000, and then we have people writing at 475, 499, or 500, and then we have this one person who writes at 502, 500. And what that does is it just separates them from the pack. The other thing is just bringing a really good deposit in can make a difference. So when somebody writes an offer, I prepare a grid for my sellers that explains price, deposit, terms and conditions, so we can look at them all at once. And often the deposit, if it's a large deposit, really sticks out. It makes the offer look way more appealing. Are you back in? Nope.
Not yet.
Okay. So, so what we do is we also include a letter to the sellers. I'm just explaining what the position of the buyers is and whether or not they're financially approved and what they like about the house. Often sellers are emotionally attached to the house. This is the exception, obviously, with developers. Developers don't care. They are more concerned about put your thumbs up when you're ready to come in. Developers are more caring about the price. They are very dollar conscious, whereas sellers really want the property to go to someone that they like, usually. So that could be an issue. Are you in now? Andrew? So, well, anyway, we're gonna
Connect this new microphone. It's not recognizing it, even though it's been.
okay.
Oh, well, there
Do
you
you have
go.
a Mac? It looked like it had a Mac. For some reason, your technology is not working either. Hey, I'm taking you off. Come on back on.
No, just keep me out of here for now.
Okay, so that's the way real estate goes too. Sometimes we have to overcome what's happening. Anyway, if you have questions about multiple offers, please post them. We'll be happy to answer them. Yeah, I agree, Teresa. Yep. So right now what's happening is we're depending on the pricing of the property. This is why as a seller, you do have to be very careful about what you're pricing your property at. If you price a little over, you're going to find you're going to miss a whole bunch of buyers. So for instance, if you think of real estate as a pyramid, and this is pricing, and at certain limits, certain cusps, there are people who are looking. So when somebody is approved by a mortgage broker, they are not usually approved to 605. They're usually approved to 600. So it gives the mortgage broker a little wiggle room. And so then if you are listing a property, you are going to have more people looking at a property if you price it at $599 than if you price it at $602. So the pricing as well for multiple offers is very important. And Andrew. Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think the thing we need to work out for next time, we'll
go
re-record
with this, and I'll have to get the other speaker working at some other time.
So what do you think about the concept?
Okay.
I thought this would be a good thing to do every day, just to talk about
the speaker needs to get redone, and I'm not too sure why. This is a fast computer, and I have except. We'll just do stupid kibitzing. And not stupid. So, this This is like 1980s internet.
I think we should
Now
re-record
you're
our
like moving in little jump starts.
meeting. Maybe we should do this
Yeah,
together.
I'm losing you now.
Oh.
You're like, do what?
Maybe we should record this together, sitting side by side.
Okay. Okay, we can do that. We can do that. It's, I mean, COVID friendly. Okay, well, we can try this again next week. Thanks to anybody who commented. That's embarrassing. Who have we had much fun? And why?
Here, let me look online. It's pretty funny. 94 people watched. We're on a numerous different shows, or channels, so that's okay. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's all good. Yeah, that's all good. I hope it was worth their time.
Well, I think we have lots of interesting points, different perspectives.
Yeah, I missed your 5 points. I kind of heard parts of them of the multiple offer piece, and it's true that there's so many different factors to it. So, like I said, it's kind of, you got to treat them as a one-off every time, but it's really about managing your clients' expectations. Yeah, Teresa, exactly.
I was waiting for you to. Yeah, I find essentially, actually, if you, it's funny after the first one, if somebody doesn't get it, how they are just so determined the next time. So I think the better you prepare people in advance, they're not going to be as they're not going to be as emotional. They're going to be more strategic.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's a process sometimes of people getting through that. Okay, I missed out on that one. I didn't expect to. I thought I was paying too much for it already, and somebody else paid 30,000 more, and I keep coming up against that. So, if they keep writing offers in that realm and keep finding they're losing out, at some point they're going to realize that they either need to change their approach or just understand that it's going to be really difficult for them to actually find a home if they're not willing to pay what the market appears to be willing to pay. And I tell people all the time, you can, because I just went through this multiple offer situation yesterday, and unfortunately my clients did not win on this one. And despite having a higher price, it came down to a slightly cleaner offer in terms of conditions. And one of the things that the other agent did, and this is a home where folks have moved out and have moved into, it sounds like they've moved into an old folks home, retirement community, and the house still has some stuff in it. And these buyers said, we'll just take the house as it is. We're not going to worry about, you guys having to remove the rest of the stuff, deal with it, or anything like that. And, I've seen that work in the past. We didn't actually write that in for these buyers. It wasn't something that I anticipated we would actually need to write in. But, it could have been a conversation to find out a little bit more about what's going on there. The better price really should have won it. And this is one of the things that I when it comes to communicating with the other agents, I often try to get this through to them. And this agent had said she was pushing for us, and she thought ours was the better offer in general, but because of price. If I'm not working with people who can write an unconditional offer, I will sometimes tell the other agent, look, if you get an unconditional offer, we can't compete with that. But if we have the better price, those folks willing to write an unconditional offer are probably willing to go into a backup position. So why don't you accept our offer at a better price? It's a no-lose situation. Accept ours at a better price. Take the other one as a backup offer at a lower price. If our buyers, for some reason, can't remove their conditions, you still have the offer you were going to take anyway, but you have the possibility of getting more money. And what's the harm in that? So I try to sometimes position that one if I have buyers who actually can't make an unconditional offer, because not everyone can.
But here's the error in the judgment there
Tell me.
is elderly people don't necessarily want money.
There's that too.
They sometimes care about the house going to the right person. And I had that recently also, where the buyers just took what was in the house. And what was interesting was the sellers were prepared to sell all the stuff in the house. They had somebody lined up to come and do that. And in the end, they did. The buyers just took everything, and then all the tools and stuff went to other clients of mine who I introduced them to. Right. So, but they said to me, you know what, we don't really care about the price. Yeah.
We're talking about two different things, though. I mean, price, they don't always care about. And then we're talking about, if you're saying I'm going to take all the stuff in the home, you're talking about the ease for the sellers of being able to move on. But my clients wrote a really nice introductory letter, and that can be, sometimes you don't know how that's going to land, but, we did our best to introduce these sellers to these buyers. We wrote a good initial offer. We did everything we could. It's just the other one. I think it was the ease and not necessarily who the buyers were.
Right.
And but I think from the advising, as an agent advising, you're going to advise all things being equal if it's a higher price and equally compelling buyers. But my clients wrote a really nice letter, told how much they liked the home, tried to do their best to introduce. I think these days the next level, taking it to the next level, is a video introduction. Which do you use those? I think some people are really finding that's quite successful. Not everyone wants to get in front of a camera, though.
Well, I have a friend in Kitchener-Waterloo who does a video.
Yeah,
and it does make a difference. And I think really what a seller is looking for when they're selling a property in a multiple offer is they want to know that the buyers can complete.
Yeah, that's the end result.
And so they want to know financially if you're qualified. They want to know, whether or not you're going to be picky, but inspections or not, and how.
Yes.
And so here's how the market's changed in a year. Last year, I had earlier this year, I had a property where the seller had moved the kitchen wall out 2 feet to line up with the exterior. And I had the same thing this summer where the seller had done the same thing. He was an engineer, though.
Right.
And then he had the whole house re-stuccoed. In both cases, we disclosed that this happened because it's called a latent defect. And in the first house, people were like, nah, we're not going to write. Even though they made the house way better. In both cases, they enlarged the kitchen. And in the second offer, people didn't care.
And just simply because when there's scarcity in the product in the market, you're going to take what you can, and you're going to be more willing to deal with things that aren't of interest normally. Like if you have the choice, walk away power. If you have the choice when there's a huge selection of homes to deal with, you're not going to pick a home where there might be a problem. But if you need a home and there's so much competition, you're going to sometimes you have to take that. So I find in busy markets like this, a home on a busy street is going to sell in an instant because it appears to be the right price and it's shelter and it's available in this market. But if you have that same home and you're listed in a time when lots of people have choice, you're going to have a hard time selling that product because people they're just going to wait for the right one to come along elsewhere.
Yeah, and actually that goes to say why staging is important and why you should keep your furniture in the house, especially elderly people, because if you are, or if it's an estate sale, you don't want to have an empty house because people are looking for all the problems. They're not distracted by the art and the look, the ambience of the house. They're more looking at all the cracks and stuff as they're going through.
An empty house feels a little more lonely for sure, or neglected or lonely. It's also easier to see where your furniture could go, placement and so forth. But I find if you do have the house empty, keep the heat on, make it comfortable. There's nothing worse than showing a home and you enter this home with your clients, and the first thing you're looking for is where the light switch is because it's dark in there, and then the floors are cold, and it's just not a fun experience. So I think it goes to the feeling of, has this home been cared for and loved? And if you get that impression, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable about buying a home like that. And an empty home can feel lonely. So staging can help. The virtual staging is always an interesting one because that helps people see it and get an impression. And first impressions count. So and most people's first impression is what they see online. So if it's staged, even digitally staged, which is where you've got an empty home and then you've put digital furniture into the home and placements in the home, and it's so good these days that people really can't tell the difference. So then you'll have people coming through the home and go, "Oh, have they moved out? It's empty now." It's been empty since it was listed, but it just they've got an impression already, and they've already got a sense of this house, so they're already partly invested, I think. So I think
We can talk about staging one day.
Sure. Yeah.
So I had a house that had no furniture in it, and I suggested that they stage, and it would have cost them $5,000, and they said no, 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 no. And this is actually a good example of pricing too. It was priced just over $1 million, which I didn't think was the right price. So they didn't take my advice on both things. We staged it, and we got an offer in 3 days. Just because, quite honestly, where the dining room was, there were 2 windows that looked to the neighbors, and they felt like they were on show. So we ended up, when we got it sold, we put a mirror in the middle of the 2 windows, so that people just looked at themselves.
That's a great idea. I remember listing a home. It was a condo years ago, and it was over in Fairfield near the water, but not right on the water. And so if you went into the sunroom and into the corner of the sunroom and looked around the corner, like from one of the windows, once you walked, you couldn't see it if you were standing in the living room looking to the sunroom. You couldn't see the ocean. You walk into the sunroom and you look to your right, you could see some ocean over that way. So we placed a mirror
to give the view,
so that it could capture the angle, just the right angle, so it captured the ocean, so you could actually in the living room see the ocean. And people loved it, and it was just such a small little change to make, but suddenly you've got this ocean view condo from your living room. I mean, it's such a subtle little small thing, and it's kind of cheating, but it's fun to do just to help people when they walk into the place. Now they really know that this is how close you are to the ocean. It's tiny.
We had a listing where it was on a balcony, and we were right beside Tim Hortons, and the balcony looked on Tim Hortons, and if you open up the door, would you like fries with that or whatever they say? I can't remember. Anyway, so I was like, oh my God, just everyone would comment about Tim Hortons. So I went out and bought a little 4-seater little tree, 3 feet high. Changed all the comments right away. You could still hear them ordering, but you couldn't see the Tim Hortons, so that makes a big difference. So visual is so important.
Yeah, that was, that's exactly right. There's if you can see something and connect it with something you're hearing at the same time, it's going to have a deeper impact on you. So I've had listings on busy roads where, if you were to cut down there's a hedge there and it's not really cutting out any noise. If you were to cut out the hedge, you'd see all the cars going by, and it really has that much more impact. But with the hedge there, you can't see the cars, and it really does make that difference, where you feel like you still have some privacy, and you don't actually connect the background noise to anything in particular. You don't have something to hook it to, I guess. So, yeah. What are you smiling about?
I'm just thinking. First of all, I'm wondering why the sound is so much better now. So interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm thinking that we have a lot we can talk about. What do you want to talk about next week?
Let's talk about it.
Well, why don't we ask our listeners if anybody wants to hear any topics discussed from two now. Are you a veteran realtor now at 14 years old?
Yeah, I'd say after I reached a decade in real estate, I started to feel like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing.
I just gave up my teaching license.
Really? So now you're all in invested in real estate.
I cried.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a pretty big part of your life. And then, that was what you went in education wise and everything. It's funny, real estate people, I don't think a lot of people choose to be in real estate. This is what I'm going to do for my career.
Yeah.
It's interesting seeing some of the younger folks. We have a lot of younger realtors coming into the business lately, and some of them are coming second generation realtors. Some of them are just coming into the business, but they seem more really career driven and more. They're not. I remember what it was like seeing some folks coming into the business when we were younger, but they were younger than us. In the early 20s and so on and so forth, and they were really all geared up to make a bunch of money and not really understanding what real estate was about and make a quick buck. And I'm seeing a lot of the young agents coming in now, and they're really more business minded and they're really more service minded, and it gives me a good feeling for where the industry is going, where I didn't have that same feeling when I first got into the business as I was doing.
But you know what? The other thing is, it may be where we're practicing real estate. Like I have people,
or you mean on the West Coast in Victoria in Canada, or are you talking just where we are in our own mindsets?
In our companies.
Okay.
Because when we both started out in a company where a lot of people go to start or they go to finish, and I didn't realize that at the time. And one thing, I don't regret being there at all, and I really admired Mike Holmes. Like, I just thought he was the best guy. But I do find that the people at Remax are really career oriented, and the whole thing is more business planning.
Certainly, yeah, and again, well, Royal LePage is a Canadian company and has they're very interested in being organized and having a professional approach, and they're very community oriented and very looking to build a culture, which I do find that really wonderful about it. But when I was talking about young agents I'm seeing coming in, I'm in networking groups where there's younger agents in those networking groups from multiple agencies. I don't think it's necessary. Certainly an agency will help create a culture and encourage people to be, I think, a little bit more engaged or less engaged. But I think in general, I'm finding that people coming into this business are coming into it with a bit of a different understanding or headset around what real estate is than and it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. But that's what I've noticed. I feel like the caliber of agents that are around and the really active agents, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think, where the board itself and the agents in our community are expecting more of each other. And I think folks that come into the business and find that they're not a fit move out again pretty quick. So
I think we have a great board though. Like we have a really great community.
Mhm.
When I compare it to what I hear in other stories in other communities, I think we're really lucky we live in a place where we have a great board and very professional in general.
Yeah.
And just the level of thought that goes into a lot of the decisions, I think is very high. Whereas I say even in Vancouver, some of the questionable tactics, there's very different culture than here.
We're in a, we could pat ourselves on the back and say how great we are and how great Victoria is, and I love to do that. I think that's great. At the same time, I think we're also lucky that we're just in the right place. Victoria's the right size for having. It's not so big that you get lost in the crowd or feel like you can anonymously create waves or do bad things. You know that there's oversight. You know that people are going to notice, and this is not such a large community that you can just get away with things and not have anybody come back on you. I think Vancouver has so many agents, and it's a little harder for them to remain organized. And then we also are large enough where we have resources. We're not a small board where we just don't have the resources to put back into it. We're geographically limited, so we can have we can actually do social events and gatherings where agents do get to know each other, like I was saying before, where we get to know each other, and you don't want to disappoint or hurt the feelings of your colleagues. You have to do business with them repeatedly down the road over and over and over again. And so there's just enough oversight and not too much.
Yeah.
So it's not a small town feel where you feel like everybody's in your business, and it's not a large town feel where you feel like you're completely lost. I like Victoria for this. I think it's a wonderful place, and it's got just the perfect size for that.
I agree.
Yeah, so I'd love to say it's all because we're such wonderful people, and I think that's part of it. I think it's also that we're just in a perfect place, that it's the perfect set of circumstances.
Yes. Okay, let's just recap the market. I have the stats.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm just going to change this. Hold on. Sorry. Application window.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I'm going to take a two-handed drink of my water.
Why? Because you feel like you're going to just do something wrong?
There's the people making fun of our friend down in the States because there's all these pictures of him drinking with.
Really? What
Yeah.
are you watching? Okay, let me just find this. Hold on. I had it open and for some reason it didn't show up. Here we go. All right. Application. Can you see that?
I can see the stats there. Now I can't.
Oh, I see what I'm doing. Sorry. Oh. Hold on.
What do you want to say about the stats? I mean, in general, the one thing I noticed about the stats was the fact that we have really had a big jump in, and we've already talked about the fact that we have holdover from spring. But what's interesting is our sales are up 60% or so in single-family homes over last July 2019. But our sales in condos are only up about 11%. And I think that's a really interesting discrepancy where, all things being equal, they should have both gone up equally.
I don't think so, because a lot of people have been using condos for rentals and they felt vulnerable. And so the condo market, I think, got a little bit bigger in terms of
more selection, less demand.
Yeah, inventory. We actually got a great deal on a condo where this guy spent $25,000 renovating it, and we're paying what he paid for it before renos last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting to me how all of a sudden, because condos were pretty hot there for a while, but now I think people have been staring at their walls in their little condos and realizing that if they're going to make a change, it's going to be for more space and maybe have food security and have a yard and have some garden or whatever it is. I think that there's been a real sea change in the way people are generally thinking about real estate and what their needs are. And I'm just curious to know whether or not that's going to be a long-term trend, or if this is a blip that people will get back to, being happy in a little home downtown. And
I always find it interesting when people say they want to live in a tiny home, and a condo is a tiny home.
Right.
You want land, that's different. So let's just go over year to date. So 10 days in, so that's 30% of the month. So we're at 207 compared to 661 last year.
I get out my reading glasses here and my magnifying glass because I cannot read it.
New listings were up 339 compared to 1,006 last year. And active listings were at 2713 compared to 2838. So we're slowly creeping up in the listings, so that's good. And then over the last week, we've had 260 new listings, 181 pending. So that's a great ratio for people looking for list to sale ratio. Right. And then price decreases were 98, which is very high. Usually it's in the 70s. So price increases were 20. I guess these are people feeling that they listed low. I've never seen a number that high. I review these every week. Yeah. And then solds generally happen mid-month or end of month, I find. Don't you?
Yeah. So people tend to line up. Those will go in different spikes throughout the month because they're going to depend on when people set their closing dates, and those tend to get negotiated towards the end of the month.
Yeah. What do you recommend for closing dates? Do you recommend people close the same day that they purchase?
I don't like that personally, for a multitude of reasons. I'm sure you've seen it where the lawyers don't actually get the paperwork in time, or maybe the funds are dependent on another closing from another sale that also happened that day, so they don't come through till end of day. And then if you are trying to get the keys from the other agent and they don't actually have confirmation of closing yet, there's no way you're going to get access for your clients. So it can be problematic. That being said, I'm seeing a lot of it written that way, and hope springs eternal. And I don't think there's anything wrong with writing that, but as long as I just tell my clients generally, like, don't plan to move in that day.
Right. Well, I find they book the moving truck, and the moving truck charges them extra money for moving in at 5 o'clock.
Right. Yeah. But it's funny though, because how many times have you actually told someone, don't have the moving truck show up for the possession date and time because you might not actually have the keys at that moment. And sure enough, we've got the moving truck showing up for 3 o'clock on Friday. Well, no, the closing was on Friday, and you don't actually get your keys until 4, and you shouldn't even expect that you're going to get those keys at 4. We're hoping for it, and all things go right, you will get those keys at 4. But no. How many times have you shown up to help to give your keys to the buyers at 12 p.m. And the seller is still there moving out? Which I've shown up at those homes and I've been like, okay, well, roll up the sleeves, let's start hauling some furniture, because my clients are going to be here in 5 minutes.
I've had that happen. We did have to help somebody move out. Actually, it was my seller. I had to help them move out. Yeah. They were just not organized, but that was early on. Now I have a whole checklist they have to follow.
That's right. Yeah. Get that information. This is, again, managing expectations, letting them know what to expect, and helping and staying in communication. Like, are you guys ready? Do you need anything? Are you going to be out? I'm giving the keys away. The buyers are going to be here at this time. Yeah, so generally I don't like the same day closings. They make me a little uncomfortable. I don't like Friday closings, although these days lawyers are also working Saturdays, so it's not as problematic. A Friday closing, I feel like everyone's just trying to get away for the weekend, and there may not be as much attention on the transaction. And then again, if there's any delays, you're pushed into the weekend, and if they're not working Saturday, then you're not going to get keys till Monday. So I try to make closings, all things being equal, I'll try to make them for not a Friday. Usually.
Also, if they're working with the bank and a bank is, it's a Friday and they're an East Coast bank like TD or RBC, something, they just forget the transaction and the buyer's left there like, oh my God, I've had that happen.
Yeah, yeah. And that just creates all kinds of angst and cost and problems. And who needs that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to close out here because we've been an hour. So we're going to show up next Monday. We're both going to have professional microphones.
I will get this working.
Actually, I was looking enviously at my son's setup, so I'm gonna have the headphones in the microphone. I'm gonna be ready for you.
Okay, right on. We're up in our game. Sweet.
And so we'll edit this. It'll be on YouTube, you guys, if you want to see the edited version without the outtakes. And
yeah, this 1 hour down into 20 minutes.
No way, there's too much good information. All right, anything you want to say, Andrew?
Thanks everybody for watching. That was fun.
So if you want to get in touch with Andrew, here's his information. What's your saying that you have?
Oh, the modern tools with old-fashioned service. That's my saying. So that's what you're asking?
And mine is global presence, local expertise. So,
excellent.
All right, you guys, we'll see you next Monday at 10 a.m. Hopefully you had as much fun as we did, and we'll work out the technology and we'll get it going. All right, have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.